Right. So we're starting this week off with a little analogy. Because why not? Um, my analogies are interesting, obviously, very obviously. So, when I was younger, I was kind of forced to watch Nat Geo Wild. Just because, I don't know, my parents wanted to wean me off a Disney Channel. They didn't want me to get them Disney knees. They didn't want me to live that Camp Rock life. They didn't want me, what else was on there? They didn't want me to live like Jake and the Netherland Pirates. They didn't want that. Instead, they wanted me to become really, really invested into biology. And one of the first documentaries I watched on Nat Geo Wild was on rainforests. And I was like, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. And similarly, but not really similarly, today we're talking about temperate rainforests. I'm laughing at the intro. There's literally no correlation between them. But anyways, we're talking about temperate rainforests. Why? Because temperate rainforests are so unique. Like they're they're quite rare, I would say. Like when you think of rainforests, you want to think of temperate rainforests. You'll think of the Amazon, you know, piranhas, arrowfish, archerfish. I think archerfish, yeah, archerfish, tilapia, whatever. Arapaima. I wanna see an arapaima. They seem pretty cool. Anyways, so temperate rainforests are, they are found in 5 different continents, but they occupy such a small amount of territory in those continents. So they're in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. And in Oceania, they're only in Australia and New Zealand. So let's get specific here. So in North America, they're found along the Pacific Northwest. But then they're also found in the Appalachian Mountains. They're also found there. But I mean it's quite mm, it's a lot smaller than the ones in the Pacific Northwest. Um, and then in South America, they're found in southern Chile and small parts of Patagonia. In Europe, they're found. Try to dwindle it down. Ireland, Western UK, Scotland, Northern Spain, Micronesia Islands, which are like the Portuguese islands off like in the Atlantic. So that would be Madeira, Azores. I don't know the other one. I forgot the other one. And then also found in the Western Balkans. In Asia, there's quite a lot in Asia. Western coast of Georgia, northeast Turkey, northern Iran on like the coast of the Caspian Sea. They're also found in East Asia, so Nepal, South China, like the east coast of the Korean Peninsula, Japan, and southern Siberia, as well as Taiwan. And as I said, in Oceania, they're only found in Australia and New Zealand. Southwest Australia. Yeah, Southeast Australia. Yeah, Southwest Australia is like desert. That's Perth. What am I talking about? So yeah, that's where they're all found. None in Africa. And they're usually found in middle latitudes between 40 and 60. And they usually occur in regions where oceanic moisture is abundant and is prevented from moving inland due to mountain ranges. So, let's find some examples. For example, remember the small temperate rainforest I was talking about in Chile? That's formed because of the Andes. Andes formed because of the Nazca plate sliding underneath the South American plate. Anyways, because of that, oceanic moisture from the Pacific can't move inland, and so as a result, it's just kind of it's kind of stagnant, and it forms like a tropical biome. Um, Same with the Rocky Mountains, which formed the Pacific Northwest tropical rainforest. No, not tropical rainforest, temperate rainforest. Same goes for Appalachian Mountains, but then again, they're also ancient mountains, and I'm not quite sure about that. So don't take my word for the Appalachian Mountains. And so yeah, temperate rainforests have a very, very distinct seasonality with long growing seasons and cold winters where plants may be dormant. And so, yeah. So due to cold winters, the vegetation is characterized by like freeze hardy species. These species have to be like cold-ish resistant. And strong seasonality drives a lot of physiological events to occur for the plants at regular intervals. So, for example, at a certain point in the year, there will be bud break, and then there will be shoot extension and some other stuff, and then the next year that'll just repeat in a cycle. And so, yeah. And then as growing season ends, it's characterized by dropping temperatures and shortened days, which I learned, like, the period of sunlight is called photoperiod, and that's a new word for me. So, I don't know if it's a new word for you, but that's interesting to me. Anyways, so the vegetation undergoes a lot of physiological changes, and essentially what I'm talking about right now is, like, the autumn season. So, they go through senescence, which is deterioration with age, so they get old, you know, and then abscission, which is the natural detachment of plant parts. So, for example, leaves, fruit, flowers, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And so, during the winter season, temperatures drop below freezing. Oh, sorry, I just dropped something. Sorry if that, like, deafened you. Anyways, temperatures drop below freezing, and so as a result, that causes soils to freeze or become, like, cold and wet. So, I don't know if you go hiking. If you walk around in winter, you see these leaves. If you, well, I don't know what am I trying to talk about? Literally, if you live in the UK, whatever. If you live in the UK, it's winter, you walk around, you walk under some trees, you step on some leaves, it's all sludgy. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? Oh, God. It's cold and wet, okay? And so, because it's cold and wet, it slows the decomposition of organic matter on the forest floor, allowing the accumulation of organic matter. And so when the growing season comes back and when it's warmer, there's a lot of decomposition. And because there's a lot of decomposition, there will be a lot of nutrients in the soil. And so, the growing season is kind of like supported by a lot of nutrients. And, it's a nice little feedback loop. And I mean, decomposition kind of decreases, like the rate of decomposition decreases when it's cold, because, I mean, obviously it reduces enzyme activity of the bacteria that's, munching at the organic matter, and so there's less decomposition. And when things are wet, so for example in peat bogs, there will be less decomposition because it's wet, because, it reduces the penetration or the infiltration or the diffusion of oxygen. So it's kind of like a little barrier. It reduces the amount of oxygen that's available, so the bacteria can't really respire. And so as a result, there's less decomposition, if you get what I mean. Yeah, less decomposition, and so more, but then in the growing season, there's gonna be more nutrients, and that supports a lot of plant growth. And then, um, a lot of plants, like the bigger groups of plants in temperate rainforests in the northern hemisphere include spruces, Douglas firs, and redwoods. I really, really, really want to see redwoods. They're like so tall, so majestic. I want to see redwoods so bad. Um, and I think it's kind of funny. Well, it's not really funny, it's a serious matter. But I think it's kind of funny. Then again, it's a serious matter. That a lot of people are trying to find the tallest redwood in America. Like, there's like a bunch of people trying to find the tallest. But obviously, the government or, national park organizers, I don't even know what they are. I'm not American. They can't disclose the tallest tree because obviously that is, a danger to the health of the tree. If you disclose the location of the tallest tree, there's going to be a lot of tourists. I don't know, some people might want to cut it down, which is weird, but some people function like that. But yeah, so obviously you can't disclose it, but there's like groups of people. I think there's like a whole Reddit thing or a Facebook group, like a Facebook mom group. No, I'm kidding. Like a Reddit thread where they all talk about, I think this is the tallest tree. Nuh-uh, I found the tallest tree. No, this is the tallest tree. Notice how I made them sound like kids? Yeah. Anyways, sorry if that was really mean. But I think it's kind of funny that there's people going on hunts for the tallest tree. And they literally post online, I found the tallest tree. I think and these hunts are like serious hunts. They will hack through undergrowth to find the tallest tree. Genuinely. At this point, I think it's a sport. I don't even know. It's quite interesting to see how people make use of their time. Yeah. Anyways, we talked about the northern hemisphere. Let's talk about the southern hemisphere. So the major plant groups in temperate rainforests in the southern hemisphere include southern beeches and eucalyptus. Not to go off topic, but obviously I'm going off topic right now. I think it's quite funny how koalas are so picky. You would think, oh, koalas just eat leaves. No. They have to have a certain type of eucalyptus. There's so many different types of eucalyptus that range in texture, like moisture, I don't even know. Did I say texture? They range in a lot of different ways. And certain koalas eat certain types of eucalyptus leaves. So, and it has to be high quality too. So, I mean, I know zoos having koalas are struggling. I know they're struggling. Why? Because the koalas are picky as hell. They're so picky. They're divas. They need to have a certain type of eucalyptus. And I think that's really, really funny. Obviously not funny for the zoos. But, just to put it out there. And not to get off topic, but obviously I just have. Hee hee. Anyways. Now, you know what? I think I'm going to talk about particular examples of temperate rainforests. Now, I'm going to talk about North America, and Scotland. Now, I wanted to talk about New Zealand so bad, but I couldn't find any sources. I couldn't find any research. I couldn't really find anything about it. So I'll just talk to you about it. I'll just say what I know. Temperate rainforests, it was burned because it was burned by the first indigenous settlers because they wanted more land. But then they started realizing, ooh, this is not sustainable, this is not good. And so they kind of stopped that. But then guess who came? The Brits! The Brits came. Sorry if I just shouted and if your ears are ringing. Anyways, the Brits came. And they came on, I think, they came on the West Coast. Which is weird, you would think they would come on the East Coast, but they came on the West Coast. They came on the West Coast. They looked around and went like, "Ooh, so much jungle! Ooh!" And so they got a indigenous guide. They went to the East Coast, and they found out it was barren land, and they went like, "Oh, this could be the world's largest sheep pasture." Guess who they brought along? Sheep, stowaway rats, cats, dogs, brought along pests as well. Oh, the Brits. Brought along all that stuff. And because New Zealand does not have any mammals, instead it has tons of birds. I think Haast's eagle was the apex predator. It was like this big eagle that would hunt like moas. So ostrich, but I think smaller, slightly smaller. Yeah. And then there are so many like flightless birds. So for example, I think there was a flightless songbird. Obviously there's the kea, the kakapo, the kiwi, and because of these mammals, the rats ate the eggs. The cats hunted the birds and probably also ate the eggs. The dogs definitely ate the birds. It just kind of disrupted the environment, and there was also deforestation of the temperate rainforests for more space for pastures. And so it's just kind of dwindled down. I really want to visit the New Zealand rainforests. I really do. But anyways, yeah. That's New Zealand from my own knowledge. Now we talk about North America from not from my knowledge. North America, well, technically yes from my knowledge, but I researched it, so technically. Anyways, North America. We're going to be talking about Pacific Northwest in particular. Sorry to Appalachia. It's quite small. I'm surprised. It's quite small. But I mean, you wouldn't think there would be a temperate rainforest in where is it? What state is it in? Hold on, let me. Appalachian Mountain Range. They are in. Hold on. They are. Oh, there's no state names on this image. Kentucky, or like Virginia. I don't even know. Yeah, they're in a little bit in Virginia, a little bit in Ohio, I think. Oh, they're in Pennsylvania. Oh, okay. Interesting. But yeah, it's not, I'm not like referring to the mountain range, I'm referring to like the teensy spots of rainforest. Anyways, we're talking about the Pacific Northwest. We're talking about the Rocky Mountains here, not Appalachia, just to make it clear. So, in the Pacific Northwest, it's formed due to a combination of orographic lifting and marine climates, which has caused a lot of high rainfall. So, marine climates causes an area to have high humidity, and as a result, there's a lot of rainfall. But then, in the Pacific Northwest, there's the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains just kind of stop the movement of the moisture inland, and so as a result, there's like a buildup at the coast. And so that's kind of formed, the tropical rainforest. No, not the tropical rainforests. The temperate rainforests there. And so, as a result, that's led to a lot of distinctive species. For example, the Sitka deer. And this is like I'm just only gonna go into the Sitka deer. Sitka deer, which thrives in these conditions and shelters in deep vegetation, and will feed on the edges, like the fringes of the forest. It occupies smaller territories and follows the same paths and beddings year after year, and so, their paths can be quite predictable. So, say, if you want to hunt Sitka deer, you would know. And that's kind of tragic. So their survival depends on the balance between the canopy, understory, forest floor, and open spaces, and they're also selective feeders. I think they eat lichen, and mostly lichen, and smaller shrubs. And so they act as ecosystem gardeners, and their selective feeding has influences a lot of plant growth, composition, and plant biodiversity. And so if the deer were gone, obviously that would affect plant everything the plants do. One less consumer. And then the predators would have less prey. So the predators would be, I think, bobcats, wolves, and bears. Less prey, so lesser population of the wolves, bears, and bobcats. And I think the last Sitka deer was removed from the USA, but I'm not sure. Do not fact check me on that. But there's quite a lot in the Canadian temperate rainforests, but obviously they're dwindling as well. And so that's it on North America. I should have found more, I'm sorry. But anyways, let's go on to Scotland. So when you think of Scotland, you might be thinking of rocky outcrops, kind of moorlands, kind of wet, kind of grassland. You're wrong. It used to be woodland. Yeah. But because of humans and some natural change, the forest just kind of cut down. No, it wasn't. It just kind of decreased. But steep hillsides, and steep gradients hides ancient wood. So once upon a time, Scotland was covered in forests, as I said, but it reduced due to it reduced due to a warming climate as well as human causes. So let's go through the timeline because there's quite a lot. So firstly, Romans increased deforestation in Scotland. I say that because the trees were already in decline. The Romans, obviously, big rain, really, really wanted a lot more wood. Yeah, obviously. Because, natural resource, really important, definitely needed it. And then, they invaded in 79 AD. And then activity in the Industrial Revolution in the late 1700s to mid 1800s just further reduced the number of forests in Scotland. That's because Scots pine, a type of pine, it's quite a nice tree, I think. It looks a bit scraggly when it's older, but I think it's charming. Anyway, Scots pine was very, very favored for shipbuilding, especially when it was young, because when it's young, it stands a bit more upright and it looks a bit more tidy compared to, its older form that looks scraggly and bent. But yeah, they really liked it for shipbuilding. And shipbuilding requires a lot of timber. And so, they hacked away for that Scots pine. And then there was an era of pterodomania, What is that, you may ask? It's like increased interest of ferns, exotic ferns found primarily in Scotland. That's because during the Industrial Revolution, more and more people became more and more people had disposable income. And so more and more people wanted to get these ferns because they had more, a bigger interest because they had more money. And so as a result, Victorian Scottish landowners just kind of let people into the land to hunt for ferns. And so as a result, a lot of biodiversity in forests decreased as people literally plucked ferns out of the ground. They trampled everywhere, a lot of erosion, a lot of disturbance. And then because the government wanted to make timber, like wood cutting, tree cutting, I don't know, timber, a better business in the UK. They kind of allowed people to plant conifer plantations, especially in Scotland, because vast land, not a lot of people live there, and so as a result, a lot of deforestation to make way for these plantations, and it's mainly Sitka spruce, which is from North America. And in the Scottish climate, they thrived. They are still thriving. I think they're the most abundant tree there. Not gonna lie. And yeah, and funny, like, obviously this is not funny. This is a serious matter. Only this part is funny. Some of the trees of Sitka spruce were kind of planted by cannonballs because they just went, light them up, boys! And they just kind of shot seeds into the hills. And that's how some plantations started. It just started via cannonball. the seeds of Sitka spruce just kind of got shot into hills, and they grew. I think that's kind of funny. And so, as a result of all of this, by the end of the 19th century, just 5% of Scottish woodland was still standing. That's sad. 5%, when it used to cover like such a big proportion of the land. And then not only that, First World War also had an impact. It caused a timber shortage, and yeah, and that led to increased plantations of Sitka spruce, which further reduced the biodiversity. And I mean, I think they're trying to rewrite themselves. I think the government's trying to bring it back. They have some schemes, I think. They are trying to bring the wolf back, which a lot of people are against. I don't understand why. I mean, people are saying, oh, they'll kill my dog, they'll kill my cat. Let's maybe be honest. We're quite loud as humanity. I don't think they'll encroach on, civilization. I don't think they even want to be near civilization. Have you seen us? Jesus. Anyways, I think it's a good idea. Why? I mean, keystone species. Very, very important species that a lot of other species depend on. It's going to control the number of deer, which is going to control the number of which is going to increase the number of vegetation. Why? Because deer eat vegetation. Less deer, more vegetation. More vegetation, honestly, better climate. Less CO2, probably more rain. We're all going to be happier, okay? Maybe not all. I know some people are going to be definitely against it. And it's not fully confirmed, I think. But anyways, I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for sticking around, and hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.